The lobby smells like industrial-strength Febreze and the existential musk of 500 apex predators who have never actually hunted anything more dangerous than a limited edition enamel pin at a crowded dealer's den. What is a furry? Ask 10 different people and you will receive 12 different answers. Most involving the phrase, "it's complicated," or a 20-page PDF detailing the biological impossibility of a neon blue wolf-dragon-otter hybrid. At its core, it is the art of wearing your soul on your sleeve, provided your soul is made of high-density synthetic pile. And your sleeve is a padded digitigrade leg that costs significantly more than a used 2014 Honda Civic. They call them fursonas. It's a portmanteau of furry and persona, because the imaginary friend I am currently piloting doesn't look quite as professional on a laminated convention badge. The history of this tribe does not begin in the woods or the wild, but in the humid basements of 1980s sci-fi conventions, where fans of talking animals decided that Star Trek was technically fine, but it really lacked enough anthropomorphic badger representation. It started with grainy fanzines, sketches of foxes in waistcoats, and a collective realization that Disney's Robin Hood had done something irreversible and strange to the collective psyche of a specific generation. By the 90s, they had their own gatherings, small clusters of people in airport hotel bars, explaining to terrified staff why there was a 6-foot-tall husky trying to drink a lukewarm margarita through a plastic straw using a pair of clunky foam paws. Then came the internet, the great accelerant, turning a niche hobby into a global phenomenon. A digital forest where everyone is brightly colored and nobody has to pay taxes on their imaginary woodland kingdom. Let us sit upon the velvet sofa of psychological inquiry. Why do we see the senior IT consultant transforming into Sparky the Sparkle Dog? It is a rejection of the mundane skin, a rebellion against the boring tragedy of being human. Who wants to be a guy named Steve who worries about his credit score and the slight ticking noise in his radiator? No, Steve wants to be a galactic bounty hunter who happens to have floppy ears and a tail that occasionally knocks over expensive floor lamps. It is a safe space for the socially awkward, a literal suit of armor made of plush, allowing the wearer to be bold and to hug strangers, to dance in public without the crushing weight of human shame. When you are a giant cat, your social anxiety tends to evaporate. After all, how can you be embarrassed when you are already a giant cat? You have reached the final boss of absurdity. There is nowhere left to fall. But even a kingdom of fluff has its dark, chemical chapters. Consider the winter of 2014 in Rosemont, where Midwest Fur Fest became a literal crime scene. Someone, a phantom in the hotel stairwell, left a jar of chlorine powder to brew a toxic cloud. At 1 a.m, the neon horde was cast out into the freezing Chicago night. The visual was a fever dream from a deranged children's book. Thousands of glowing wolves and technicolor tigers shivering on the sidewalk, synthetic fur frosted with Illinois ice. The irony peaked at the convention center, which was hosting a literal dog show at the exact same time. The actual show dogs, groomed and stoic, stared in silent canine judgment as 6-foot-tall foam versions of themselves were ushered into the same room for warmth. 19 were hospitalized, but the mystery remains as cold as the air. A decade later, the Fur and Loathing podcast still picks at the scab of an unsolved gaseous assault on the brightly colored. No, bad boy, that's not for you. If Illinois was a tragedy, Seattle's rainforest was a glorious unraveling of the social contract. 2015 remains the year the fandom
tested the structural limits of hotel insurance. It was not a convention, it was a siege of the senses. There were drug calls, there was significant property damage, and there was, to the horror of the janitorial staff, a literal diaper fight in the main lobby. $10,000 in plumbing repairs later, the hotel management penned a letter that read like a survivor's testament. The damage from one weekend of fur exceeded the total of every other event held that entire year combined. Rainforest died there, on the wet pavement of Washington, a textbook case in how to get an entire subculture permanently blacklisted from the hospitality industry by behaving like actual wild animals. Then the chaos moved online, targeting the Breakfast of Champions. In 2016, the official Twitter for Tony the Tiger became a digital Sodom and Gomorrah. The fandom decided that Tony was their undisputed king. They flooded him with affection, much of it deeply unsuitable for the back of a cereal box. Kellogg's panicked. They blocked the furs, they built digital walls, and finally issued a desperate plea. Please keep it family-friendly, Cubs could be watching. The internet laughed as Tony retreated into the pantry, But Chester Cheetah, ever the opportunist, leaned into the heat. The Cheetos mascot flirted back with the furry users, winning the demographic as the cool corporate predator. Walk through the halls of any modern con and you will see the strangest cross-section of humanity. Military veterans, data scientists, and middle school teachers, all united by a shared love for oversized ears.
Meow, yelps playfully now.
There is a room dedicated entirely to headless zones, where the illusion is temporarily broken, and tired humans sit with their enormous foam heads in their laps.
Not next to my beer. Dude thinks he's funny.
Blasting fans at their sweaty faces. It looks like the aftermath of a mascot massacre, a graveyard of disembodied smiles and oversized eyeballs, waiting for the next parade to begin. In a world of rising sea levels and political madness, perhaps the furries are the only ones doing it right. They have looked at the options provided by modern society and decided to opt out in favor of becoming a neon pink hyena with a penchant for glow sticks and expensive art commissions. It is ridiculous, yes. It is baffling to the outsider who sees only the carpet remnant nightmare of it all. But there is a weird dignity in being completely, unashamedly absurd on your own terms. They are the new American folklore, a collection of made-up monsters who prefer mutual grooming over devouring villagers. So, let them have their fluff, let them wag their tails, in the face of the coming apocalypse. If the world ends, I'd rather be standing next to a giant blue wolf than another cynical man in a gray suit.